Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a 1.5 banner prediction for Huo Huo and Argenti, but at the same time, I'll also be looking at the one I did in the past, 1.4, and I'm going to fine-tune my process, because obviously we didn't do too well in the first half, Jingliu's banner. Although we got the most important one right, we got Tingyun, I think is the key one. My reason there is because it was like a 6 difference, a 7th banner will be the longest time any character has ever appeared. Jingyuan is a hyper carry style, similar to Jingliu also, so she fulfilled a slot, so that logic kinda applies. But either way, we know where we went wrong. Now we are just gonna move forward with that, and I think it's gonna be quite interesting to see how I'm actually gonna predict moving forward. Let me just hide these columns real quick. Okay, so right now that we've known like whatever we did, and we didn't predict for Topaz back then, but I think I'm going to be doing it for both of them in the same one in this video as well. So based on the sim logic that we have, since that characters don't really push past 7, I think in my opinion, if you have a defensive character like Huo Huo who's a healer, if you see like Luo Ca's banner here, they did have a pretty decent DPS like Tingyun in here, and the other ones are like really strong debuffers as well as a strong attack buffer as well. I do think Huo Huo's banner likely will see something similar, and given that out of all of the DPSs in the game, Dan Heng is the one that has appeared 7 times, not appeared. He's definitely gonna, I feel it's definitely gonna appear in 1.5. If not, it'll be like 9 banners since he last came about. If he's only coming back in 1.6, I do think it's time for him to show. So my best guess will actually be Dan Heng here. I'm actually gonna put him as one of my picks for Huo Huo's banner. I do think that 8 cycles is a little bit long for him already as well. So that's for Dan Heng. And other than that, I think another character that likely would fit quite well will be Ireland. Ireland is just a very tricky character to play. If you don't play like Destruction, a character together with like Blade here, you won't really want to build a team around him. This is possibly one of the better ways you can, because if you get his life low enough, Huo Huo might just like heal him up so that he can have some sort of sustain. I do think Ireland would likely be my second pick for this slot over here. Just because it makes him a little bit more playable. Of course, he will like a character like a shielder, but we don't have any shielding characters so far, and it might be only in like version 1.6 that we could see a shielding type unit. No one knows yet. In that case, it'll be like 6 banner, 7 banner, same as Dan Heng already. It's a bit of a stretch. So I think high likelihood that Ireland will make appearance. So far from what we have seen, we have never seen like a back-to-back new character release and immediately they will appear in the next part. So I think for characters like Huynh will not be appearing in version 1.5. And as you can see, even new characters, for example, like Luca, who is one of the earliest characters together with like Yukong to have a rerun. There's like at least 3 banners in between. Yukong here, at least 2 banners in between. So I don't think Huynh is coming out in version 1.5 at all. We could see appearance of links, but probably here, but I'll talk about that in a bit. And usually characters don't have like 1 banner in between them. If from based on like what past trend I've seen, it hasn't been broken yet. No one has like appear in, for example, Fuccen's banner and then skip 1 and immediately in the next banner. So I do think that we won't see characters like Su Sang, any character that basically appears in Jingliu's banner likely won't be appearing here, and same, any character that appear in Topaz banner likely won't be appearing in either of these banners, and that is what the past trend has shown. So in that case, I think it's a little bit more clear. If she's a healer, we have 2 DPSs likely to come out. What that really is missing is a character that is an attack buffer, and I think there are a few options, or even a defense shredder, and I think that there are a few options that could happen from here. One is we could either see, for example, a Pella-like rerun, but it's a bit short, a bit quick for a Pella rerun, and we might also have, for example, a character like Asta, a character like Yukong might also make an appearance again. I don't think that Serval is another character that could. I'm just going to put the characters that I think is high likelihood, and then we will narrow it down towards the end. So I think these characters do have a chance of appearing based on past trend. I don't think she's going to appear. I don't think he's going to appear. These all are not going to appear. So these are still have a chance. She's not going to appear here. Unlikely that they're going to put Mark 7 together with a defensive unit. So far, we haven't seen her rerun together with any other defensive unit. It usually tends to be a bit more offensive units in nature. So I think I'll leave Mark 7 out here as well. Su Sang just ran. I think Pella is another option here. Hook, I don't think she will come out. Natasha, I don't think she will come out here for a double healer. It just is a bit excessive in my opinion. As you can see, Natasha previously only ran for a bit more like Zila, Blade, Comms. Fucc is the only one that has like 2 defensive units, but one is preservation and one is abundance. So I don't think we will see a healer here. So out of all of these, let me know like your thoughts also, what you think. I'm just gonna do a gut feel kind of selection. I have no like crystal ball or any unofficial information, so this is just purely based on guessing. I think out of all of these characters, I'm thinking of characters that can't really work well with a future unit. That maybe is just not suited a playstyle. I think Ireland possibly would be the best time to put him here. He is a little bit more usable with Huo Huo than possibly other characters in the game, unless of course we have a shielder in 1.6, so that's a big caveat. I'll lock in my selection. I think I'll choose Ireland. Dan Heng hasn't been around for a really long time. I do think that he could be in either one of these because you have an erudition character here. A Han character just makes a little bit more sense for Dan Heng. So I do think that Dan Heng will be in the first half together with Ireland, and in that case maybe Serval wouldn't appear here. I would take Serval out because 3 DPSs in one banner is a little bit excessive. It could happen, but maybe not in this patch. I think likely they will play a buffer or a debuffing type unit. Esta here, it seems like Esta is always with like DPS characters, or maybe like to bump up certain characters. Silver Wolf is not really a DPS, but this is like a free-to-play lineup, so they have shown that they don't mind doing 3 free-to-play characters. I think I'll take Esta out, just doesn't seem to match the trend from what we have seen. For Yukong here, she's usually with imaginary characters, so I think she likely won't make an appearance. Might be missing for a while in that case if we don't have like imaginary main cast, unless a rerun is coming, maybe here. If it's trend, likely Tingyun is going to be here, but we'll talk about that later on too. So I'll take her out. I think I'll lock in my final answer, probably will be Pella, probably will be Dan Heng, as well as Ireland for Huo Huo's banner. The reason for that is she tends to appear more on defensive banners. She doesn't mind coming back early as well. Hoyoverse has shown that they don't mind releasing her a little bit earlier than other characters, so it makes sense based on trend here for Pella, and you increase the damage of opponents. If you put for Jingliu here, incentivizes more people to pick more copies of Pella up here, so it's not as if they have a whole patch to skip. So that's my thought process for Pella. Dan Heng just hasn't been around for a really long time. He only had 1 banner here on the Silver Wolf banner, hasn't been around. I do think that he will come back either one here, so it really could be either here or here. I'm not too sure yet, but I'm just gonna go with my gut feel. I think he's gonna come back with Huo Huo's banner, at least have a bit of a DPS in the first half here. Last but not least, Ireland, I think is a matter of, I don't think he fits in very nicely elsewhere. Like you can see that Hoyoverse has a bit of difficulty thinking where to slot him in also. Only appeared on Blade and no reruns so far. He's possibly one of the only characters without a rerun. Even Sampo also has a rerun, other than of course the new characters. Yeah, I think only Dan Heng and Ireland has had no reruns yet, which is pretty crazy. Has even only appeared once and never again. So I do think that Dan Heng, Ireland likely will be my final choices for these two. Okay, and for the second part for Argenti's banner, I think this is really nice to like start talking about the rerun banner that we could see, which probably will be Tingyuan's rerun. Based on trend, what we see like Zila with Topaz, Han and Han. In that case, it does make sense to have Tingyuan together with Argenti as well, if we just go simply by that logic, where it's like erudition and erudition. There is a curveball they could throw. They could, for example, skip Tingyuan and go straight for Silver Wolf, because what we notice is we do have Hanya who's actually going to be coming out. I'm going to just write her here. So Hanya, which I haven't like put her picture in, Hanya is a physical harmony character, and if you have a harmony physical character here, you have an erudition harmony character here, it could be very likely that they might release Silver Wolf here so that you can play like a mono team. The chances are low. I don't think Luota is going to come back yet because we just had like Huo Huo here, so it doesn't really make much sense to run a double healer in one patch if they do want to rerun this second part for a limited 5-star. In that case, I do think the chances are Tingyuan is going to make a rerun over here, especially since you have a physical harmony buffer like Hanya, which is kind of like I wouldn't say like 100% proxy, but it is a proxy for a harmony character here, so it does make sense for a bit of a hyper carry. In that case, what we see is like Su Sang as a single target DPS, so it seems like they do acknowledge that single target damage dealing is important for an erudition team, which is why possibly I was like thinking that maybe Dan Heng will be here. And the other character that I'm thinking of is possibly Serval. I think Serval hasn't made a showing for a long time, and honestly, if Dan Heng is not here, I think Serval will take this spot. And if, for example, Serval is here, then Dan Heng will be here. Really is depending on one. None of these characters tend to come out. I don't think any of these will show. We could have Yukong here if I only think like Yukong will only come out if Luota is around, so I don't think we'll have Yukong here as well. Ting Chue, if we have a gap here, I don't think they'll put 2 erudition characters here in the same patch. Unless they like have some sort of buff in the Memory of Chaos specifically for erudition characters. In that case, I think Serval would definitely fit the bill if you have like multiple erudition. I'm gonna go with my gut. I think that Estar might make a showing. My guess would probably be like Estar Serval, and they're going for an erudition kind of buff. And other than that, I think the only other character that I'm thinking of maybe is March 7. She could come back because she did show in Tingyun's banner, but it's like lack of creativity if they run the exact same characters. If this is an erudition patch for the second half where erudition's damage is being buffed, Serval makes tons of sense. And in that case, Serval with Estar to form like a double hyper carry together with Hanya could be quite interesting. The other option, of course, if it's not Estar, likely I think it'll be Natasha. I am torn between the both of them. It's either Natasha or Estar right now. But let's go with my gut. I think it's Natasha, just to make it a little bit more balanced, especially for people who don't pull Huo Huo in the first half. At least you have access to a sustain in the second half. So that is my honest thoughts. I think this will be my final lock-in. I'll lock in Pella, Danheng, as well as Arlen for Huo Huo. And I'll lock in Natasha, Serval, and Hanya for Argenti in the second slot, and my guess is Tingyun is going to come back in version 1.5. Will it age well or will it age like milk? Let me know your thoughts also, and if you appreciate like such content. This is the second time I'm doing it. I promise you I'll improve my accuracy every patch it goes. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.